Hello and welcome back to another We Watch TV Supercut. I'm Daniel, and if you're not familiar with the Supercut format, it's where we take a conversation that we've had over the course of many different podcast episodes and cut it into one giant Supercut episode about that specific show. This week's episode, we're talking all about Star Wars Ahsoka. And to kick it off, we started our conversation in episode 33, Deviled Eggs Are Not Sexy.
But for now, we do have some recent shows that we've watched, and we didn't really get into the last time because we had a lot of finales to talk about. So we have a new Star Wars show out, Ahsoka.
Yeah, we've got the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka. They gave us the first 2 episodes for a premiere, and then last week's episode, which we have none of those we've talked about yet. We kind of said last week's podcast that we were just doing busy, and we...
Last week we had a lot of finales to cover.
And we also didn't want the episode to go 2 hours. So
as much as you guys love to hear us rant, we figured no one wanted to listen for 2 hours. So we thought, well, let's hold off and give some Ahsoka more attention. The first 2 episodes, great.
Yeah, I agree.
Third episode, meh.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm not saying I disliked the third episode, but it was a big nothing burger. No plot was really advanced. It was a lot of flying around in the spaceship to get to point A to point B. So let's rewind though and talk about those first 2 episodes.
That's your rewind noise?
It's my rewind noise.
What exactly is that?
I don't know. Is it like a VC? I don't know. The VCRs make noise. Those relics.
Yeah,
Who knows
do.
what a VCR is? That'll show your age, folks. I thought the first 2 episodes were great. I can definitely say that I'm a teeny bit salty for one major reason. I feel like I started, now maybe someday I'll go back, and I've seen her episodes in Rebels, but you started me off on Rebels before the Clone Wars, and I'm sorry, I thought Rebels was really stupid. The first couple episodes I watched. It was very childlike. The blue guy annoyed me. I was just like...
Zeb is purple.
Okay, whatever. I just wasn't vibing with it. So, but then Daniel introduces me to the Clone Wars, which I still have not finished, but I adore the Clone Wars. Everyone's like, and Daniel was like, and Ahsoka's kind of annoying the first couple. I didn't find her annoying at all. But then again, like I found this before characters that people are like, oh, Scrappy Doo's annoying. I'm like, I love Scrappy Doo. Like, I thought
Everybody
like Ahsoka
hates
was
Scrappy
great.
Doo.
I think Scrappy's cute. He's tiny and little and fun.
I mean, it's on you. Rebels is a great Star Wars show.
Anyway, you told me that you liked Clone Wars better, though, right?
But it's close.
But so whatever. So I watched the Clone Wars. I really like the Clone Wars. Now, obviously, I think the Clone Wars, some of it can be very kid-like, but there's a lot of mature episodes too, which I think does happen. You just didn't start me off on the right foot with Rebels. But I got real into the Clone Wars.
Episode 1, Season 1. I mean, you have to meet the characters at some point and like get their introductions.
I watched more than the first episode of Rebels. Can I please continue?
Sure.
Mr. Rebels fan. Anyway, I was so excited when the Obi-Wan show came out. I was like, ooh, we're going to get some... I want to see them flashbacks of Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars outfits. I want a Satine mention, because that's Obi-Wan's boo, canonically. Because you told me these cartoon shows are canon. And I feel like we have gotten and I understand that Disney didn't own all of Clone Wars till the end, but I feel like we've barely gotten so much as a breadcrumb of Clone Wars mentions. But you Rebels fans, well fed, the purple guy who looked blue to me, showed up, right, in Mandalorian?
Season 3, yeah.
So you've gotten that. Now, I understand. People are going to be like, Hope, what are you talking about, well-fed? You're getting the main character from the Clone Wars in a whole show. I see your point. I just want Satine's name to be mentioned one time, guys. That's all I want. But I feel like this, show is almost made as a and it's getting criticism because of this. Which I'm enjoying it without having so much knowledge of Rebels, but everybody's like, oh my gosh, so far all Ahsoka is like part 2 of Rebels.
Rebels season 6.
Like there was even a TikTok that was like how many times Ezra's name was mentioned, which he's a main character on Rebels that disappeared at the end of the show or whatever because he saved so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. So now he's off with that Thrawn. Am I saying Thrawn? Is that the blue guy?
Yeah.
Okay, who we have not seen yet on the show, Ahsoka.
No.
We've just seen him in previews. I'm going to be mad, and I don't even watch the Rebels because of how much we've talked about Ezra's name if I don't see Ezra at the end of the season. But you guys are like well fed, and I'm happy for you. I'm like Rachel, where she's like, you know what? I'm 80% something happy, 20% like jealous, right? That'd be the right math. Where she's talking about like Monica and Chandler getting engaged. Like, I'm happy that the Rebels fans are getting well fed, but when are we going to get something for the Clone Wars? And I understand everyone's going to be like, Hope, hello, Ahsoka is known from the Clone Wars. You're getting to show off of her. I just want some other sprinklings. And I think I might get it later because we know that Hayden Christensen's going to show up. Do we think he's going to show up in flashback form? Because I want to see him in his Clone Wars outfit.
We don't know right now what that's going to look like.
I would love to see him as a Force ghost. So you may proceed with your thoughts because I feel like they've like the characters, like at least because I remember watching the Rebels, like Sabine, we're having a Game of Thrones issue here with names though, and Satine, Sabine, sound way too similar. Sabine, that I remember that character from Rebels. Whoever they cast looks exactly like her.
No, that's a very good casting.
Obi-Wan's wife in real life, the green girl, Hera.
She's not as popular with the Star Wars fans, but I like that casting. I think she's doing a great job.
Why do people aren't? I feel like Hera's so chill.
Because Star Wars fans are
Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character died, and she has that son with him. I feel like, and clearly enough time's passed by, she seems very mentally well.
Yeah.
It seems like Sabine's the one that's taken everything real hard.
Yeah, she seems like she's been doing not well for a long time. So.
Those cats, the
Loth cats.
The Loth cat. I didn't know that. Apparently, I've been using this cup. I have these Star Wars mugs. One's Batuu, which is what Galaxy's Edge is, the planet like the Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be like from Disney World. And I noticed the other day after watching Ahsoka that there's a Loth cat on it. I was like, oh my gosh. Because Sabine, that's my favorite character right now in Ahsoka is the cat.
They need to get those into the Galaxy's Edge Park.
Yeah, I have one walking around. Do something.
I do want to say, and I think you might disagree with me on this. The more I've watched Rosario as Ahsoka, I think she's doing a really good job.
Why would I disagree with that?
Well, because you want.
Well, I love Ashley as the voice of Ahsoka. I do. I love it, and it's something I got so used to watching the Clone Wars. But I think at this point in. Like, Ahsoka's obviously older now, and she's more subdued. I think Ashley could have... In a perfect world, I would have Rosario doing the acting and, like, the voiceover with Ashley, just because I'm so used to it. But that doesn't mean I think Rosario is doing a bad job. Like, I watched a whole, like, TikTok where it showed cartoon Ahsoka and then Rosario. Like, she even has, like Ahsoka's mannerisms.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job.
So you can tell she watched and did the homework. I just think that, like, a lot of us are so used to Ashley's voice, and Rosario's voice and tone is so different. But sometimes I've noticed, though, in some of these first 3 episodes, where you can tell Ahsoka's trying to come off more calm and even-keeled, and, like, trying to be like, I'm calm, I'm better. But she still starts to get a little irritated with, like, Sabine. And I'm like, oh, I see the Ahsoka I remember popping out a little bit. Like, a little where Ahsoka's getting, like, I just think it's funny. You know that Anakin's looking down like, oh, look at your Padawan being all annoying. And none of that took place in Rebels, right?
I don't believe so, no.
There's a scene with Kanan, am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
Where he was training Ezra and Sabine.
He was training Sabine before Ahsoka.
Sabine's
I think
from Mandalore. She's a Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think my understanding, and any Rebels fans out there who remember the show better than I do can correct me, but I'm pretty sure the stuff where Ahsoka trains Sabine is post-Rebels, like in the intermediate time between the 2 shows.
You might need to go back and rewatch that.
I should probably do that.
But I think you're right.
You could do it with
I've
me.
seen people talking about that because there's definitely tension among those 2 characters because it seems like Sabine kind of quit or Ahsoka kind of was like, you're getting on my nerves.
Well, I mean, it's been pretty clearly stated that she is not very force sensitive.
Yeah.
Like she is on the lower end of people who are force sensitive.
The droid guy says as much. He's like, you're the worst candidate for this.
Yeah.
Whoever he is funny. And I like that other droid that's apparently from Rebels.
Chopper. Chopper's the
funny.
best. Chopper's the best droid in Star Wars.
Okay, no, nothing's going to replace R2-D2 for me. And I like BB-8 too from the sequels. But Chopper seems like a cool guy.
So
he's very mouthy.
The first 2 episodes were really good.
Great.
It's not that the third episode was bad,
Not a lot happened.
but just not much happened.
It was like a shorter episode. It just seemed like they were just like getting to their destination. Who was watching Sabine's cat? I must know.
That's the question of the hour. Like, what's going on with the cat? Is she okay?
And I'm like, if you guys have seen that TikTok that uses the clip from The Walking Dead, like, where's Rick? That's where I'm like about Anakin right now, because I know Hayden Christensen is supposed to be in some episodes, and I'm like, all right, give me Anakin. Where's Anakin? I want to know where's Anakin. Bring him in.
I feel like
I knew he wouldn't be in the first 2 episodes, and I figured out the third one, but I'm like, ooh, we need some, because there's only, 8 episodes?
there's only 8 episodes.
So, like, I feel like it's time. Bring Anakin in.
And I
episode
have a
4 or
bad
5.
feeling. I think it's a mistake.
What?
Go with me. I'm not saying it's a mistake to have him in, but Dave Filoni, who's the main creative guy on this, he helped create Ahsoka. He's directed episode 1, and he'll be directing episode 6.
So we think that Anakin shows up in episode 6?
So a lot of people think that's when that's going to happen.
So I'm going to have to wait 2 more episodes
I
to see
think
Annie?
that's a mistake of anticipation for a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to continue to get more and more irritable the longer they have to wait, which is you raising your hand right there.
Yes.
And and maybe it needed to be that long, but if it's a flashback, you could put a flashback in a lot of different places.
Well, I thought he was going to be in more than 1 episode. We think Anakin's just going to be in 1 episode?
I can't imagine he's in more than one.
I think it would have made sense to have flashbacks in 1 episode and then the Force Ghost at the end of the season.
I think you're only getting 1.
Well, that's outrageous. It's unfair.
I don't know what to tell you. I think you're either getting a flashback or you're getting a Force Ghost. You better pick one. Which one would you rather have?
A Force Ghost, but that means I'll probably get a flashback.
Yeah, probably.
But I do want to see him in that Clone Wars outfit. It is outrageous and unfair, and I do not grant you the rank of master because of this. I think it would have made... I thought he would at least be in more than 1. He was in more than 1 of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, well, we knew that. Like, he was billed as part of that show. Whereas on this one, he's not technically been announced to be in the show.
Those clips, though,
the
in the
rumors
preview...
are heavy.
That was Hayden's voice, and that was new stuff that he recorded.
Yes. Correct.
I will tell you this about Rebels. That, and I watched the scene... The animation of Anakin on Rebels was awful.
Yeah, we all made fun of that. Don't worry about it.
So do you think Ezra's going to show up in the finale, or are they going to bait that for season 2? Because I think that's dumb. If we're talking about all this stuff about Ezra, and we're not going to see Ezra at the very end, like, what are we really doing here, guys?
If he's in the episodes, it'll be like the last 1 or 2 episodes, because he is with Thrawn.
Yeah.
So wherever Thrawn is, he is.
Thrawn.
And the rumor right now going around, I don't know that we're getting season 2 of Ahsoka. Instead, this is going to be a precursor to a full-on movie.
Ooh. Is that the one that Daisy Ridley was going to do?
No, that's a different one.
She is going to do it, though, right?
They're working on a movie with Daisy Ridley and all the prequel the sequel characters. 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. This is a completely separate movie that Dave is working on. That'll be like kind of. We think it's kind of going after an heir to the Empire book. That movie very well could have Luke Skywalker in it.
Do you think
Luke
Skywalker is going to show up on this?
I think there is a higher than 10% chance Luke Skywalker shows up in this.
That's not great. Higher than 10%.
It's not 0.
Do you think Mandalorian, Boba Fett, any of that?
No.
Now the actor
keep him out too. By the way,
Boba Fett. What?
Keep him out.
The actor who plays Boba Fett might show up as.
We think he
Rex.
might show up as Rex. Yeah.
That'd
that would be cool. Yeah, I'd like that.
That'd be a breadcrumb for the Clone Wars people.
Yes. Well, he was in Rebels too.
All we want, okay, you Rebels people. Anyway, I didn't think the third episode was bad. It just there was nothing happen. Sometimes this is one of my complaints about The Mandalorian, and I guarantee there's people that are going to disagree with me. I'm fine with a little bit of action, but when that's most of my episode is here's some battles, here's some action, here's some flying, and it's just so continuous. I like these shows for, like, the plot, like, the talking, the conversations, the characters. I don't need, 20 minutes of my 35-minute episode to be consumed with just that action-y scenes. That's not what I like about Star Wars. I like about, like, Star Wars, like, the characters, their motivations, their changes. Just, like, really how what I like to see in any show that I watch. Too much action just oversaturates me, and I'm like, okay, and I just felt like they were just flying to get from point A to point B.
All right, so then motivation-wise, our three villains, I guess. We've got the Morgan Elsbeth. She was in The Mandalorian season 2.
That's the witch lady.
Yeah, the witch lady, but she seems to be really kind of a true believer about getting Thrawn back.
Yeah,
now,
and then Thrawn's obviously a villain.
The other two, the Balin Skull and
the little girl,
Shin, I think
she
is
looks
her.
like a little girl. Apparently, she's not. She's got the crazy eyes.
They're
the bangs,
different.
The blonde hair.
They're.
She has the Padawan braid too,
Yeah.
right?
So there's something else going on. Like I think they
Yeah.
almost come off as hired mercenaries right now.
Yeah.
But like he had a line in the second episode about it'll be a shame to have to kill Ahsoka because there's so few Jedi left.
Yes.
Which like a Sith would just be like, yeah, let me kill
Do we
this.
think that's one that Darth Vader trained, or do we think? Because there's the whole rumor that Darth Vader had a Padawan and then Anakin.
There's the Marek, the other guy who we don't know anything about. He's in like the suit with the mask
I thought
on.
that was a woman. That
We
was
don't
in
know.
the suit. We think because it was very. See, I like the theory that that's the girl that pinned all the murders on Ahsoka in the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah,
I like that fan theory.
Crap, I can't. Now her name just escapes me immediately.
Mine too. Go watch the Clone Wars, and you know what? Probably go watch the Rebels, guys. I would probably watch. I think I would like Rebels if I hadn't tried to watch it in a season 1 start every episode format. I think like if I had done, because like I'm doing that with the Clone Wars now, but when I first started, like Daniel kind of like picked some episodes out for me, and I took to it much quicker than I did Rebels. But I think if you are a fan of Rebels and you're not watching Ahsoka yet, what are you guys waiting for? This is a show made for you.
Yep.
And I've always really liked Ahsoka. I'm annoyed that Disneyland has an Ahsoka meet and greet, but Walt Disney World
They'll get to
doesn't
Walt
yet.
Disney World eventually.
We still haven't seen Mando walking around with Grogu. Apparently, I'm usually not in Hollywood Studios past I guess he tends to be out at 5 p.m. I'm usually in my hotel room at 5 p.m.
Yeah, who wants to be in Hollywood Studios that late?
Like,
Oh my god.
we are like the elderly morning park people. Morning is such a vibe at the park, strolling around with our coffee, getting on the rides. Then we like to get the heck out of there when it gets crowded.
We continued the conversation with episode 34, Return of the King.
In other big, huge news, waiting to rants, not even rants, more like praise, Ahsoka. So,
Episode 4 of Ahsoka.
episode
Drop-
4 of Ahsoka.
This week, and
Achoo.
go ahead.
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I thought you were gonna start. This is how just, wig snatching. This is the second time I've used the phrase wig snatching, I think in this same recording. I think I already said that once about something else. Who knows? But we praised the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. We kind of were a little hard on episode 3. We're like, not a lot happened. I've been complaining about how I have had no breadcrumbs and fed, a buffet, a feast. Episode 4 had everything. I'm going to say this right now. Everybody, listen to me, write it down, whatever. This is the best live action Star Wars that I have seen since the prequels, since I sat in that theater and watched Revenge of the Sith in 2005. This episode had it all. Not even with the little end part, which, whoa, amazing. But the whole episode, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. We had characters questioning what to do. I know she's not popular right now, but Sabine, huge arc for her. Balin, what a great character. Do you agree?
Probably one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I'm not limiting that by
Ever?
I'm not limiting that by Disney. I'm not limiting that by sequel trilogy. I'm saying one of maybe my favorite Star Wars characters ever. R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, because the actor that played him passed away before he
which is
even got to
unfortunate.
see the episodes.
Which really makes me
and
sad.
before he got to feel the love, because generally speaking,
I feel like everybody likes
his character.
He's definitely on the quote-unquote bad side, but he doesn't seem...
But he's interesting.
He's interesting.
He's not...
He's what Kylo Ren should have been.
Yeah,
Which I think Kylo is the most interesting character from the sequels, but I don't think they sold it the way they should. And I felt way more conflict with Balin he seemed nervous when he and
I
Ahsoka
thought
were
the acting.
fighting.
I thought the acting there was when Ahsoka first comes up and he knows, okay, I've got to fight a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, it's how long has it been since he had to go up against somebody who really knew what they were doing?
And didn't he say the
And I
line
thought-
earlier? He was like, I thought, or what did he say? He's like, it's a shame,
It's a shame,
to
yeah.
lose Ahsoka. There's so few of us left.
Yeah.
And he said that in a previous episode.
Yes, but I felt like the actor was portraying a little bit of, I'm nervous about this fight because I'm not entirely
Yeah.
convinced. I know this is Anakin Skywalker's Padawan.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely convinced I can handle her.
exactly. And that, I just was on the edge of my seat that entire time. Then we had Sabine, what she's got going on. And she's basically, she's having that conflict. Her drive right now, is to not really be the best Jedi I can be. It's Ezra. She wants to get Ezra back. Ezra is her family. She clearly feels guilt.
She's let a connection cloud her judgment.
Which, as Jedis, they're not supposed to form attachments and do these things. But so often, I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. So often that happens with Sabine. And I thought, like, regardless of your feelings on that character, I personally like a flawed character. Am I mad at her? The path that she chose, yes. Do I understand? Because in that moment, she wasn't sure where Ahsoka was. She thought Ahsoka's dead, for all she knows, because they make it seem like
she
Ahsoka
might be,
does
for all
die.
we know.
Yeah,
we don't really know.
Wink, wink.
I'm not winking.
Yeah.
Like
Ahsoka's gonna come back.
Yes, she is. They're not going to kill the title character
No,
in episode 4 of it.
So she makes the deal with the devil, basically, to pass over the little map thing, and then Balin's like, all right, I'll protect you, right? Is that what he says? Or I'll get you to Ezra or something?
You hand it over, I'll take you to Ezra, I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And
not
then
protect,
his
not
little
kill.
Padawan, Shin, shows up, and she's trying to force choke her. And
Crazy
he's like,
eyes.
no, don't. Manic Pixie Star Wars Dream Girl.
Yes.
Is what everybody on the internet's saying about her.
So. But he kept his word there.
Yeah, he did.
The one character, the dark outfit, turned out to be a fart, basically.
Literally.
A nothing. Just what do you think about that? I think that there's some magical spell thing going on right now with the witch sorceress lady.
I think
it's like I don't know what is her name.
So I think that what that is, and maybe it'll come.
She wants to find Thrawn.
Yeah, Morgan. She wants to find Thrawn, and she is a night witch, a night sister.
So do we think that's what?
And I think she was animating. But I think that was an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Who had died, and she had kind of reanimated his corpse to a certain extent. And so you got that green flush when Ahsoka cut him in half. And I think we're kind of to take that as he was just being animated by her witch magic.
There were just all these crazy theories about it. And there were some people that even thought he was Ezra.
Yeah.
So that turned out to be nothing, but no one cared because it just makes me, I start to well up with tears.
Hello,
even
Snips.
as I say this. What?
Hello, Snips.
Hello, Snips. Oh gosh, I'm literally about to start crying. We turn around, and who is it? The King. Return of the King, Mr. Anakin Skywalker, and the Anakin I wanted. So we all know I liked Obi-Wan, enjoyed Obi-Wan, right? I cried in Obi-Wan. It was special to me, but my flashback of Anakin didn't hit like I wanted it to hit. I got basically Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor cosplaying their roles from Attack of the Clones. But I was so happy at the time. I thought that's what I was ever going to get. So I took it in stride and I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll with it, even though I've got this old Hayden Christensen who still looks good, but he's got the Padawan braid and I'm like, whatever. I know people always are weird about de-aging. No, it worked. It was fine. And if you look closely, people, I've seen some comments like, where's Anakin's scar? It's there. I have analyzed this scene to death. I've taken screenshots.
To death.
I have a picture of Anakin from this scene on my phone. Because as you guys know, if you've been listening, I am a
It's not your background, right?
It's not my background,
Okay.
but it's on my phone. I'm a staunch Anakin apologist. I'm an Anakin girly. I love him. I think he's the most tragic character, but one of the characters with the most captivating stories. And there's still good in him, and I just love him so much. But that's who I wanted. I wanted the Revenge of the Sith Anakin. I wanted the mullet Anakin. And when you hear, it was very faint, the hello snips. And that is the moment, too, that Rosario 100% sold Ahsoka for me. She had been doing a good job with the mannerisms. I saw her face just lit up because you can see this version of Ahsoka that we've been seeing is much more hardened to life. She's not like the, how she once was in the Clone Wars. The child.
Child in the Clone Wars, essentially. But
you saw just her whole face light up. And it was so beautiful. It was so great. I kind of figured Anakin was showing up this episode. I kind of figured it because didn't Disney Plus announce they were doing like a special, like a behind the scenes thing
on Friday.
So I'm like, okay, something's happening. I'm like, is Hayden finally coming back? It's like the worst kept secret of all time. And then I don't know what Dave Filoni, he must like to mess with emotions. So I'm happy I'm seeing Anakin genuinely smile. My Revenge of the Sith Anakin. And what do we hear as we go into the credits?
Darth Vader's theme.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
What does it mean? What does it mean? Because Dave Filoni, don't do this to me. I am not ready to hurt again. I've had enough of Vader in flashbacks of these things. I'm like shaking my microphone. I'm so like, this is how passionate I am. I've had enough Vader. I just want some Anakin. I don't know where they are right now. Is Anakin a Force ghost? People are saying no, that it's the world between worlds.
So they're in the world between worlds, with a place that was set up in Rebels. That it's not time travel, but it's a place where the biggest Force events in the universe are connected as one event.
Yeah.
And so you can, in theory, kind of run around between them, but you can't go back to them. You have to go out the same way you came in.
And Ahsoka's already been.
She's already been there in
this place when she died.
Yeah.
And Ezra brought her out.
Mm-hmm.
If that is in fact where they are, can we bring Anakin out? I know they're not going to do that, but could we?
No, because again, you can't.
Because this is what I say: bring Anakin out. I know it erases the sequels. I say let it die. Let it die. Let it die. Let it shrivel up and die. Because I've always been like, what if I could just actually, like I always gaslight myself when I watch Revenge of the Sith into thinking he's not going to turn, he's not going to be bad. And I'm like, what if after all this time I could get my Anakin happy boy? But I'm not going to get that. But could we bring him out of there if she wanted?
Well, it depends on what he is right now.
Do you think he's a Force ghost?
So
there's debate. There's a lot of debate.
I've heard
that.
some people in the Force ghost camp have said, well, yeah, Force ghosts glow when they're not in the world between worlds, but we've never seen a Force ghost in there before. So for all we know, this is where the Force ghosts hang out regularly.
And they communicate with people because, like, they showed that in the sequels. Didn't they show Luke and like Yoda even communicating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there, some people say he's a Force ghost, but the reason he's not shimmering like one is because this is where they're supposed to hang out.
And he is the chosen one.
I think that knowing Dave Filoni the way I think I do, that there's going to be some connection to the an arc from the Clone Wars. And he's going to end up, he's kind of taken up the mantle of the father, a very powerful force-wielding being that kind of helps guide and make sure that balance remains. And he can fulfill that job because he has been both the light and the dark. So he understands both sides of the force.
So does that is my next point. There are people, and I've zoomed in and I've tried to see if I can tell. People are saying that while that's Anakin, it's Vader's saber.
I think it's just the lighting.
That's what I think. I think it's the lighting and people are reaching because it really did. We had that joyous moment and we got to see Anakin, Hayden genuinely smile. And as soon as they did that, they went into that Vader theme.
That is
instantly.
That lightsaber is the Youngling Slayer 9000.
Okay. Anyway, that's my man's.
It was a good episode. It was a great episode. Like you said,
they went right into the credits though, and I'm like, no.
Like you said, probably one of the best Star Wars live action Star Wars episodes or anything's for a very long time.
Do you agree with my take? The best since the? Are you still, like? I want to just say to you real quick before Daniel answers this question, that while I was joking about the sequels, I did enjoy the sequels. I had fun seeing them in theaters. I just think that they suffered from not a cohesive direction, literally, with different directors. And I just never felt the connection to those characters like I did the prequels and the originals. And I am a staunch prequel supporter. So I still did enjoy the sequels, though. So now you may proceed. I know you like The Last Jedi, right?
Liked The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. Does it make any sense to be episode 8? No.
No.
Does it make any sense to be in that trilogy at all? No. I think in a bubble, that is a great Star Wars movie, and it doesn't rely on nostalgia to get you excited for things.
So,
As much as exciting as Anakin Skywalker showing up at the end of this episode is, the fact of the matter is, it's nostalgia.
well, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. And Anakin, we deserve this. We've barely gotten any Anakin because I guess they just wanted, when Disney first got the sequels and stuff, they really wanted to pull away from the prequels as much as possible because of all the, over dramatic, I guess, Xers and boomers that just hated him so much. Pfft, you guys are wrong. And it felt like it was just like we got a little bit of Vader, but barely any Anakin. And I just feel like finally, like, people are recognizing that there are a lot of us that love Anakin Skywalker. And watching the Clone Wars made me like Anakin Skywalker even more. Now, I have heard that there were scenes that Rosario and Hayden filmed on Mustafar doing like the fight scene like he did with Obi-Wan. I don't know if that's true. I think my theory, working theory right now, and again, this episode is going to air tonight, so I could be totally wrong, is that Ahsoka's going to want to bring him out of there and see if she can bring him back, and he's going to be like, no, it had to be this way. And it's going to show all the different possibilities. Remember how I was joking around, like, I want a Star Wars What If show?
Yeah, I think it's almost going to be like a mini What If episode where Anakin has to show her, hey, listen, everything went down the way the Force wanted it to go down. I'm sorry. It sucks. It doesn't suck for anybody more than me, but this is how it had to be. Now, but going forward, you still have choices that you can make. In particular with your Padawan that has made some tough, rough choices, but you need to show Sabine some forgiveness and go forward with it, I think, is the message that Anakin's going to be displaying. I
hope so. I will be brokenhearted if that Vader music meant something and he instantly goes into some like Vader move or bad Anakin. Like, that's going to break my heart, and I want to trust in Dave not to do that. So I'm going to try to be optimistic. I know a lot of the actors that filmed on the show, they are all saying that episode 5 is their favorite. Clearly, they're putting, and it is the mid-season finale as well of Ahsoka. They're putting it in theaters. You can go see it in theaters if you want. For me, seeing it, I knew Anakin was coming back, but I didn't know it would like hit me in the feels so much. And I always loved, like, Anakin has those 3 very significant relationships: Obi-Wan, obviously Padme, and then Ahsoka, who you get to, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars yet, go watch the Clone Wars because it is worth it. So I could talk about this forever. I have seen that scene 30 million times. I've read so many previews. Theories. You don't read a preview. I've read so many theories. I was never the type like you. Like, even before, what was the Rise of Skywalker? Is that what the last one was called?
The last movie?
Yeah, the last movie. Like, Daniel was always the type that was reading theories and stuff before that. I always wanted to just go in and watch it for what it was. But now that you gave me Anakin and then you had to insert that Vader music at the end, this is the first time where I've been like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going down? And I still don't know. And it's just really fun to be this excited about Star Wars again.
In episode 35, in addition to the Mothman Festival, we also talked about more Ahsoka.
Now we can get into Ahsoka and Return of the King
Part 2.
Again. Man. Do you want to go?
I'm going to set the episode up, and then I'm just going to let you rant on it. So
I'm going to be like, I love this question, I think.
This was episode 5 of the Ahsoka show.
The mid-season finale.
Kind of, yeah. Last week we really enjoyed last week's episode. Even before you got to the end with the cameo that came up, I thought last week's episode was a really great episode. This week's episode, we get to see basically what's happening to Ahsoka. And so she is in the world between worlds. She meets...
Did they confirm that was the world between worlds? Did they actually
it is. That's what it looks like. No, but
they didn't actually
they didn't say it, but that's what it looks like from the show, from the Rebel show.
And they also didn't confirm that Hayden... I think Hayden was...
They didn't say what he is.
I think a lot of people are interpreting that he probably was a Force ghost.
I think so, because I think he acted as if he had memories, right?
Yes.
So like there was one point where they were at the Siege of Mandalore and he was like, I don't remember this battle. Okay? Because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And a Force ghost, I don't know, he had his personality. He was him.
Oh, he was 100% Anakin.
And more importantly, he was the Anakin post Return of the Jedi, I think. Because he said at one point, she said, I'm not going to fight you.
I've heard
and
that
he
before.
said, I heard that before. And that calls back to Luke in
To
Return
Luke,
of the
yep.
Jedi saying, I'm not going to fight you. I thought it was
Great
a really,
callback.
really great episode. Really well done. Had a lot of really good places. You were complaining early in the season that this was a show for Rebels fans, and I think all the Clone Wars fans got fed in this episode.
Hey, I didn't complain. I
A
just said
really-
it's not fair.
For me, a really, really great episode of television. Last week's was still a better episode of TV.
I do think I agree. Episode 4 was better just in terms of, like being on the edge of my seat, everything going on. But then for me, like emotionally, getting to see Anakin Skywalker once again on my screen, having so much screen time.
Played by Hayden Christensen.
Of course.
Excellently, by the way.
I can tell that Hayden watched the Clone Wars.
Yes.
He talked to Ahsoka the same way. He had the mannerisms. He looked at her the same. The banter was there. You can tell he did the homework. He watched it. Shout out to Matt Lanter, who voiced Anakin in the Clone Wars. He did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really a sign. Like, some actors would have been like, oh, I don't need to watch that. I was Anakin. Why do I need to see that? And Hayden was, he said, he talked about it. Like, he watched the Clone Wars. He did the homework. And I'm going to say, I think that was Hayden's, honestly, his best performance that he's done in Star Wars.
I agree.
In that episode.
In particular, I would say that he played multiple versions of Anakin because he played the Clone Wars version. He played the Revenge of the Sith version. He played Darth Vader. And I think that switching between them was because he's played two of those characters. He's not played the Clone Wars version of Anakin before.
No.
And I think we can get into it as we talk more, but one of the really striking things that a lot of people noticed from that part of the flashbacks was that Ahsoka, because they brought in a separate actress to play Ahsoka.
If you guys have seen Baby Gamora in Avengers Infinity Wars, it was that actress. She's also in the Barbie movie.
Yep.
She plays America Ferrera's daughter.
So they brought in an actress to play younger Ahsoka. And it kind of, for me, and a lot of people, it was the first time, like, we've seen the Clone Wars in animation and we knew that Ahsoka was 14 during that event. But it kind of hit a little bit differently seeing a fairly age-appropriate actor
little girl
playing that character and realize, and really Anakin is probably 19 during the events of that stuff as well. So it's like those are they're children. They've been forced into war, and it really I think
Anakin's been used his whole life a slave. Then he goes to do this, and then it
shows you. I think
manipulated.
Well, but some of it I think it shows the corruption of the Jedi. Like,
yeah.
What are they even doing
For
here?
sure.
Why are they involved in this? That they're peacekeepers, they're defenders. They're not like, why are they involved in this war?
You can see there's
at
a
all?
lot to debate on that we could do an entire podcast on about what happened with the Jedi and how a lot of it they had it coming. Like, I think we hope that, and that's what this is, again, I don't want to get into the sequels again, but one of the things that sort of irritated me about the sequels, and I'm not one of those people that was like, oh, they ruined Luke. He was never like that. Because if you watch like A New Hope, Luke is whiny. He is a whiny character. He does have issues. He struggles. We all just remember how great Luke was.
I mean, it took Luke
at End of Empire, Return of the Jedi.
I mean, not even End of Empire. Like, it took what woke Luke up really was Darth Vader smacking the absolute crap out of him at the end of Empire, and him realizing, oh man, everything Yoda and Obi-Wan have been telling me was absolutely right. I was not ready for this.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people kind of build Luke up in their head as this like untouchable, perfect character, which he never was. But not to crap on the sequels again. But one of the things that made me mad about them from that perspective, where I was irritated, was that it seemed like the Jedi still didn't have their crap together. Like, Luke tried to start like the school again, and obviously we know what happens with that little turd Kylo. And Luke kind of, again made probably a poor decision and instantly regretted it, but at that point it was too far gone. And I always like to think at the end of, like, if Return of the Jedi had been where it ended, like, I think in my head, like, oh, everyone was happy, like Luke was able to get that back in order, and obviously that didn't happen. But probably, I mean, it probably does have some degree of realism where I'll defend the sequels, in that it's likely when you have that power goes out that there's other people that are in line to want to take over, because that's the way the world is. The world kind of sucks.
Yeah, and that's also the danger you get whenever you start taking a franchise of any type that has had a pretty, like, solid cemented ending, and then to say, okay, now we're going to tell stories after that ending,
because you have to have conflict.
You're going to have conflict, and so things are going to happen that some fans may or may not be.
So
with.
These next, if we have not had a post sequels content yet. They are, I think,
That's
working
correct.
on something. I would like to see at some point, I mean, they certainly make her perfect. She has no flaws. So is Rey going to just finally be the one to get the Jedi in place here?
That seems to be the pitch for the movie that they're working on with Daisy Ridley.
Okay.
It's not going to be a numbered episode, 1 through 9 have been. So it's
and literally with Rey, I just want to say I like Rey. I think Daisy Ridley does a good job, but I don't connect with her like I do Leia, like I do Padme, like I do Ahsoka, because she has no flaws. I like my characters flawed. Everybody in the original Star Wars and a lot of the prequels, like Luke was flawed, Han was flawed, Leia was flawed, Padme was flawed. I've heard people be like, "How was Padme flawed?" Hello, she knew that Anakin killed the Sand People, and you know what, girl? I would have forgiven him too, because that's my man. And anyway, back to Hayden Christensen's performance, so we don't just go off on a huge rant. Great job. I think a lot of people forget that in Revenge of the Sith, people think Darth Vader, they think the suit, the outfit, the breathing. The moment he gets on his knees, and even he's like, Vader. "What have I done?" He's Darth Vader.
Yep.
And we got to see that. A taste of what it could have been, if he hadn't been in the suit.
Well, yeah, because we got the first time seeing Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader without a suit with a red lightsaber.
So we kind of had our reason why the music started, because basically Anakin was there to teach
He's there to teach her a lesson. Yeah.
He's there to, help Ahsoka get her groove back in a way. So it wasn't necessarily a what if episode, but we did go back in time, and I think he was there. He wanted her to make the choice that she wants to live. Because Ahsoka carries so much guilt. I think she, like Obi-Wan, blames herself for Anakin. All the war crimes, which Anakin, why you got to bring that up? Someone's like, I loved how Anakin was still just so sassy. The first thing he said to her was, "You got old."
Yeah.
And then she's talking about all the war crimes they committed and all the people that died, and he's just like, and.
I think
it just fit Anakin. Did you expect Anakin to be nice, warm, and cuddly?
No,
he's only warm and cuddly with Padme.
Yeah.
That's the only one. He's snarky with Ahsoka, snarky with Obi-Wan.
I think one thing too, I read some of this online, but I've thought about it as well myself. Because do you recall early episodes? Ahsoka was very stoic, very emotionless.
Yes, and fans were calling her out on that.
People were calling her out for that. And what one person
subdued.
online I read said was, part of the lesson that Anakin was teaching her was she was afraid of becoming him.
Yeah.
And he was trying to tell her, "You're not me. You're not going to become me.
You can choose to not be what happened to me."
Yeah, and what happened there at the very end of their interaction when she took his lightsaber and leaned in and then turned it off and threw it away
and said I want to live.
Same thing that Luke did. Mm-hmm. In Return of the Jedi, when the
parallels
the Emperor
were great.
was like, "All right, come get me," and he threw his lightsaber away and said, "I'm not going to fight you." And in that moment, Ahsoka realized that was the lesson, that she can be herself,
yes,
and not be tempted,
yes,
by the dark side and not turn into Anakin. And that was
scene
the lesson.
Right there,
and it was great.
Where Anakin's eyes go from the red Sith eyes back to the blue Anakin eyes.
Yeah, and
it seems to. I also took it as Anakin has found some balance. Yeah. And that, he was able to, because he's basically, you can have that little moment where he's just like, "Yep, we're going to have to do this the hard way." You brought that up. Mm-hmm. And we had that cinematic. Dave Filoni, I just want to get on my hands and knees and, praise the man. Just perfection. That flash of Anakin, and then it flashes to Vader and back to Anakin in that scene.
I don't know what else.
Emmy.
I don't know what else Disney needs as evidence to why he should be in charge of all of Star Wars.
Everything.
And get all those other people out of there and let Dave be the new George Lucas and let him run the show.
And also, in the Clone Wars flashback, I got my meal, my dessert, the appetizer, everything. Obi-Wan, we all wanted so badly to have a flashback of Anakin in the Clone Wars armor we see in the cartoon. And we got it. He served that up. Oh, it was so great. And then he had the still long, but not the Padawan braid, but the first couple seasons Anakin hair from the Clone Wars.
He had the
And
armor. He had all the the look. It looked really good.
The way they looked, like on the screen, like from the cartoon. We got a brief glimpse of Rex.
Yep.
I think we're gonna see him again.
I think the older version might show up again, and we'll see Tamara Morrison show up in person.
But instantly, the moment at the end of episode 4 and then this, like, I saw the Ahsoka that I remember from the Clone Wars and from where I saw her on Rebels.
Yeah, because
she was a little stoic on Rebels, but she still had that, like, a little bit of fire to her. But because Rebels is where she learned that
she didn't
Vader
know,
was Anakin. She didn't know that. And that, I mean, and then
so, because even after
she has been stoic.
After her interaction with Anakin, the whatever he was.
Yes.
She goes back and Hera finds her, and her attitude is different. Everything, like she's
Ahsoka the White now instead of Ahsoka the Gray.
How are we gonna find them? They're gone. Like, how are we gonna chase them down? And she's like, you know what? I got this crazy idea that might just work. I'm not sure it's gonna work, but we're gonna do it anyways. And that's totally like Anakin. She's learning the lessons, the good lessons she learned from Anakin. She's taking.
Yeah, absolutely. That you can find balance, you can choose, you don't have to fall down that path, and that was what Anakin was there to teach her. Whether that place is the world between worlds or what it was, Force Ghost Anakin, you can debate that. I think he was there. That was our Anakin, and he was there to, and that's why we had that little. Because I was like, "What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?" That little clip of the Vader music at the end. So very relieved that I got it. And then when he had that, like when she did choose to live, and he was basically like, "Oh, now you got the lesson." Like the eyes, just like I said, the eyes going back, the smile on his face. It fit. It worked. And it's honestly, would you expect Anakin to teach a lesson any other way?
He's just brute force?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
It was Anakin. That's who he is. A lot of people, I made the comment about Ahsoka the White, Ahsoka the Gray. If you are a Lord of the Rings fan, which I assume we have a lot of nerds listening to this, you probably are. So I feel like this is Filoni's Gandalf the Gray. Now Gandalf is back and he's in the white robes, and we're going to see a new side. Still that mature Ahsoka, but she has a new outlook. Yeah. The one thing that I really try to like love everything, but I will say in my head during the scene where she's like, we're going to work with these like whale-like things that Ezra like used to communicate with to try to get to where we need to go. It went on a bit, and I'm like, this is reminding me of Finding Dory with the whales. And then somebody on TikTok, there's always people out like you in the vast world that is our universe that have apparently your same brain. Because I saw like one or two, I think, TikToks about that. We did not see Balin, but I figured we weren't going to for episode 5. I was like, this is going to be the Ahsoka Anakin episode.
Yeah. We
did get a little bit of Hera and her son, who is force sensitive, because he was able to be like, I hear the lightsaber fighting in the water. So that's why they were there. We did get our fun little line. His name's Jason, right?
Yes.
So the guy that's been showed up on Mandalorian before, he was also in this episode. And
the X-Wing fighter. Yeah.
I don't know who was. It wasn't Hera that said it. It was somebody else. Were like, "Oh, that's Jason. He's force sensitive," and he was just like, "Okay." And it's
I guess we're gonna do that. I guess we're gonna do what
like
he says.
that, because we all think about like the Jedi, but they're not everything about this universe. Which I know I need to go watch more of Andor.
Well, particularly in this time period, like Luke is like the only major famous Jedi anybody really knows about.
But
he
was just like, "Okay, cool."
So.
But it was good. Do we think, and you know what? I want more, even though I know I shouldn't, because I feel like they finally really gave me what I've been desiring with Anakin the whole time. And I love Anakin Skywalker. He's my favorite character from Star Wars, staunch Anakin supporter. But if I don't see Hayden in Anakin's role again, well, it's going to hurt so bad. I think I can ride off in the sunset on a happy note.
I think if you recall the last scene of Return of the Jedi where Luke walks off from the party and sees Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin standing there.
Oh, my favorite scene.
I feel like Dave almost might do that with us here at the end of this series, is to kind of give you a little, like Anakin looking over Ahsoka and smiling and be like, you're doing good, kid.
You know what I would really love, but they're not going to do it? I would love Anakin to go like hang it, because we know Luke is still alive, obviously, to visit Luke one more time, because we know from the books that are canon that Luke still does communicate with Anakin.
Yeah.
I would like that. I don't think I'm going to get that, but I think if we get to see Hayden as Anakin one more time, we're going to get that. What you said.
I just would like the rules of the Force Ghosts to be explained a little bit better.
I mean, they can set fires in the sequels.
Right. Yeah. I would. That's what I'm saying. I would like and now we know that like.
But the sequels, Rey could also, and Grogu's now they can also heal. That that power might have come in handy for Anakin. With Padme.
Anakin, that would have come in handy with Obi-Wan. This whole thing could have been solved if
Yeah.
Obi-Wan could have just healed Qui-Gon after he got stabbed by Darth Maul in episode 1.
And then, yeah. So anyway,
In episode 36, Simps for Sandy, the Ahsoka conversation continued. So next up, Star Wars Ahsoka, episode 7.
6.
Episode 6. We finally met Thrawn. They've been talking about him for
what a
a
villain.
while.
What a villain.
He's a great villain.
I loved his entrance. He just like showed up with like his parade of people behind him, his like entourage.
Do you remember in
cool.
episode 3 of this show when she killed the Inquisitor looking guy and he like just turned into green smoke?
Yeah, it was like a fart, yeah.
Do you think those stormtroopers are people or more of that?
Possibly more, probably more than that. More of that.
That's what, because they look real beat up.
Yeah.
And they've been gone for like 10 years.
I think there's a lot of witchcraft and wizardry.
Yeah, with the Night
stake.
Sisters that we've met in this episode.
Yeah.
So set the episode up. We knew that Ahsoka was heading to find.
But I loved that part where they're going to a galaxy far,
that's
far
all
away.
she got was that beginning part, and the robot tells her a story. And I think a lot of people
liked that.
A lot of people are trying to read into it a little bit. I think that's just like in our
thought
world.
that was just a wink to
we
the
say
fans.
no. In our world,
Yeah.
when we start a story, we say once upon a time.
Yeah.
And in the Star Wars universe,
time
you
ago
say
in
a
a
long time ago in a
galaxy
galaxy
far,
far, far away. I thought that was really cool. But
I
then
enjoyed it.
that was all you got of Ahsoka was
Yeah.
there at the beginning. And then we go to see where Sabine and Balin and what's her name? What's the blonde girl's name?
I don't know. I just call her the blonde
Shin
girl.
Hati show up. No, that's her name.
Okay.
Have gone and traveled to.
And the witch woman.
And the witch woman. And they find some more witches.
Yeah.
And Thrawn eventually.
And Thrawn's not too happy that they brought some Jedis
No, he's not at all.
with him. He's like mad at the witch ladies. He's like, you didn't tell me about this. I figured we weren't going to get a lot of Ahsoka, the character,
Right.
in this one because we had some catching up to do. And I was worried a little bit that this episode was going to be a letdown because I was so happy to see Anakin in the last one. I wasn't let down at all. Like, would I love to see Anakin every episode? Of course. I'm an Anakin gal. But I thought this was fantastic. It was a great episode from start to finish.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question because I'm familiar with Thrawn from not just Rebels, but also from one of the books and some some old books that are no longer like.
You are not canon, though.
Yeah, but it was like he's been around for a while
Yeah.
in the Star Wars verse. So what did you think of him?
I think I already told you what I thought of him. What an entrance. Good villain. I can already tell it's a good villain. The entrance, the dialogue, and there's sometimes where, like, I feel like sometimes shows fall flat with their villains.
Right.
But I think it's a good villain. I really liked, again, the entrance. You can't beat that entrance. And then even his interactions with Sabine, and he's like, you can go find Ezra, and then I won't, what do you say? I'll let you go find Ezra, but I'm going to leave you here.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
stuck
basically
here.
They're like, well, what are you going to do if she finds him? And he's like, oh, we're going to try to kill her.
Yeah.
Like, basically, and Ezra, speaking of, we finally get to see Ezra.
Yep, he's alive.
Seaman is peppy and positive. We're living with those little rock turtle people.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
He seems like he's in a really good mood.
I'm worried about that.
You're worried about that?
Yeah.
Is that not his normal character?
No, that is. After 10 years of being stuck in this place, I'm worried that something else is going on.
He's basically was like, oh, it took you long enough to Sabine. And then he's like, so how are we getting home? And she's like, let's talk about that later. Because at this point, Sabine thinks she's just going to be stuck with Ezra anyway.
Yeah.
That was a nice moment where they hugged. Me looking at that objectively, I see sibling vibes, but then somebody put like romantic music with it and flashbacks and made like a whole video on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, I could ship it if it was if it was like this. I don't know. When I first watched Rebels in season 1, I do remember thinking Ezra had a crush on her, but then from my understanding, that just like stopped, fizzled out. They both kind of grew up and they were siblingy.
Yeah.
So what are they romantic? Not? Would you be okay with it if they were?
I think I would be okay with it either way. Like, I wouldn't be offended by it in any way. It's not like an Anakin Ahsoka thing
I
where
feel
I would
more
just
heat with
literally
Sabine
throw
and-
myself off of a building if they decided to do
Ew,
something
no one
like
ships
that.
that. No one ships that.
But definitely in the Rebels, it was more of he kind of had a crush on her at the
Yeah.
beginning, and then by the time the show ended, it was not in
I
any
feel
way
more
romantic.
heat with Sabine and what's her name, Shin?
Yeah,
The
Shin.
blonde girl. So maybe that's just me reading into things. I don't know. But yeah, when I saw that video, I was like, okay, I could be on board with either way if they stay friends. But yeah. So you're worried about Ezra. I thought he'd be a little more.
Yeah, I'm worried about him. Well, because I'm worried about him because of what Balin's up to.
Oh
So,
yeah, Balin seems like he wants to like erase history.
we got some background on his motivation this episode, and he's after something that he thinks is here.
Do you miss being a Jedi? I miss the idea.
That's been a great meme on TikTok.
It really
I've loved
has.
it every
He's
time
such
it's
a
come
great
on.
character.
He really is.
But it doesn't seem like he's there to like. He almost wants to like
He wants
undo time
or break a
something.
cycle or something.
There's some kind of mythical stuff.
and
you think that's going to connect to Ezra being
well,
all
Ezra's been
happy-go-lucky?
stuck on that planet for 10 years. So if there's something mystical in the Force hanging out on that planet, are you
Maybe-
telling me that a Jedi
Do we think
hasn't
maybe
sussed it out?
time moves differently on that planet, so maybe it hasn't felt as long
but he's
for Ezra?
aged 10 years.
Yeah, and he's certainly done well trimming his beard and everything on this planet. With
And
his
you
little
can
rock
tell
friends.
with like Thrawn's Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And they've been there.
And Thrawn
a
clearly
while.
knows that Ezra's kicking about. Why hasn't he tried to kill him?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Again,
questions.
there's a lot of questions going on here.
And we've got, what, 2 more episodes left?
2 more episodes.
It was good to see Ezra, though, and I'm sure Rebels fans felt very well fed in that. Dave Filoni, let him have everything.
I'm going to make a statement. And
Oh, Daniel's going to make
tomorrow
a statement.
night, this episode, when this episode drops
Yes.
that we are recording currently, like we're going to find out this evening in real time, whether I'm right or wrong. I don't think Thrawn is the villain of this season.
Who do you think is?
Whatever Balin's after.
Yeah.
I don't think that there
Are we
is
confirmed
enough
for a season
time. I know we are not.
Okay.
We are confirmed for a movie.
Ooh.
But there is. I think that what I think it is. High, I think it's 50-50 right now. This season ends with Balin and Shin and Sabine and Ezra and Ahsoka stuck there.
Oh, that
Thrawn
made a
leaves.
lot of people
Thrawn
mad.
leaves, and we don't know what
Yeah.
he does when he gets back to the regular Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
Like he's gone, and that's it. And they're just there. Now, obviously, Ahsoka has shown that she can communicate with the space whales, so
And
that's
Jason
their way
has
back.
Force abilities. He's going to be with his mother. He could come into play in this. He's obviously
Potentially,
the one
yeah.
that helped. I
But-
mean, he served a purpose when he's like, I hear like lightsabers in the one episode.
So I think that I'm not saying that's how it's going to go down, but let me say, knowing Thrawn and knowing that he is going to be used for more than just this season of show, whether it's another season of Ahsoka or the movie or whatever, he's winning.
now
He is going to
though,
win this season's arc.
We know though
however
that
he
Balin's
wins.
not going to be around because the actor.
Well, we know that
unfortunately did pass
the
away.
actor, unfortunately, yes, passed
so they
away.
might have to change some plans they had for that.
I mean, I can see the trajectory of his character biting it this season,
Yeah.
anyways. Like, he finds whatever it is
Do
he's
we
looking
see
for.
Anakin again? Is there time? I feel like they wrapped up Anakin really well, and that it's not necessary. But I would love to see him one more time as like, being proud of Ahsoka, looking down on her, or something cute like that.
After that episode where he was in it primarily,
Yeah.
I said yes, and I believe even last episode I said yes, we will see him one more time.
And you still
After
believe in
this
that?
week's episode, I do not believe there
I
is
don't think
time.
they're gonna have
I don't think
time,
there's
yeah.
time to do it in a satisfactory way. And
But I feel like they really ended his character very well.
oh,
It
absolutely,
was very satisfying. So me as an Anakin fan, I can, rest my head
yeah.
happy. At
Like,
night for that. But I would love to see him again.
Depending on where they go, whether it's a season 2 of Ahsoka or if they just go straight into a movie from here,
Yeah.
maybe he shows up in one of those areas. But I don't think there's room in this season anymore for him. I think she's wrapped up Ahsoka has wrapped up that part, and she's ready to go forward with the challenge she's got in front of you, which is a big challenge because remember, at the end of this episode, we've got Thrawn asking the Night Sisters for some more magic. I saw somebody online suggesting
They're
that
creepy.
I saw somebody online suggesting that they're going to manifest a Darth Vader for her to have to fight.
You know what would be cool
Which I
though?
don't like that idea. I don't think they should do that.
I don't think they should do
because
that.
I think she's slaying her demons there.
You know what would be cool though if we had the Night Sisters do I put a spell on you?
I did see somebody online did that with
I'm like,
the-
somebody
yeah.
go ahead and make the TikTok and the memes, please.
So, but yeah, I agree with you. The show, every episode just keeps getting better. It's been excellent. Barring, disaster in these last 2 episodes, best Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, completely agree. Unless these last 2 episodes completely fall flat,
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
It's been excellent. I'm going to put a caveat on that to suggest that neither of us have finished Andor, but they're a very different
opinions on Andor.
Well, Andor it's a different tone of show.
And pretty much everybody that I've talked to about it, like, literally agrees with me. Oh, yeah, it's really boring the first 4 episodes, and then it gets better. I don't think you're a good show if I have to get through 4 episodes until it gets good. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, if you can't hook me in, like, if I have to, like, work and actually be bored until it gets good, that annoys me. But that's everybody that even, like, stands that show has said that to me. They're like, oh, yeah, it's kind of boring until, like, you're 4 episodes in. So I am willing to give it a chance because I have read that it does go into some of that political stuff that I like of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It's just, guys, when I'm tired throughout the week and I'm wanting to kick back, I don't want to kick back with something boring. And speaking of, I think we're pretty much wrapped with our Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'll look very, very excited for the last 2 episodes. Episode 37, Go Ninja Go.
And let's get into the other show that ends tonight. And I am so depressed that it's ending tonight. Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'm very depressed that this is coming to an end.
Other than episode 3, which we felt was just the traveling, every episode has hit.
Yes.
And guess who was back?
Ezra Bridger.
Well, no.
Yeah. How silly of me. Anakin Skywalker
really
shows up
tired.
once more.
She's watching an old recording that he made for her as she's training, and it just... We watched the Dancing with the Stars premiere, and we wanted to go to bed, but we knew because Star Wars fans have no chill that we had to watch Ahsoka. So we're like, okay, let's watch it. So I'm tired, but I'm excited, and suddenly there he is. There's my man's Anakin on screen again in the Clone Wars outfit. Dave Filoni. He just gives me my appetizer, my main course, my dessert, my second breakfast. The man delivers. Give the man everything. Give him all of Star Wars right now, Disney. Do it. Just let him do it. And give me a live action Clone Wars. I think Hayden would be up for it.
I don't know how this is going. I think we're about to get empired.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Thrawn, what a villain.
I mean, they haven't confirmed a second season yet. I just don't know, unless this last episode is 2 hours
We've got
long.
a lot going on.
How are we wrapping this up?
We've got what Thrawn's doing. Let's see here. Balin has a whole other thing, and he just kind of left Shin.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, go do whatever. And then Ahsoka like tried to get Shin to be like, hey, you can come join us. It's all right. And she just kind of ran off.
I think that will eventually pan out.
It reminded me of that like Parks and Rec meme where like Ben Wyatt's like, well, how about, and he just like sprints off. Yeah. That was what Shin reminded me of. I'm the little bit that I have seen of Rebels, and I know you confirm this, I felt like that conversation with Ezra and Sabine was hilarious.
Oh yeah, those actors are knocking it out of the park.
But she's like, in Ahsoka,
the writing...
Ahsoka took me on as her Padawan. He's like, why?
Yeah, it's the writing, which is being written by the same people, but all the acting. They clearly watched Rebels, and they're clearly working on mannerisms and voice inflections from the voice actors in those
Ezra's
shows.
Cute, by the way.
They're doing a really great job.
He's cute.
Is it Ezra?
What?
Is that Ezra?
Well, he's cute, though.
Is it Ezra?
Do you think he's cute? I don't know. I hope so. That felt very Ezra-y. Is there rumors that it's not Ezra and Ezra's dead?
No, I'm not saying Ezra's dead. I'm saying that Thrawn knew why they were there.
Why hasn't...
And he asked the Night Sisters for some help, and we already kind of know that they can like animate things because
why
we saw
would he
that.
have not killed Ezra already? Is Ezra that... awesome that he's been able to evade him and hang out with the rock?
Yeah, exactly. Why is, and it seems like he's not really that far.
I don't know.
She just got to him riding that like
maybe his whole thing was
cat, dog, horse thing.
Maybe he kept Ezra alive because he was hoping that the rebels would come back to get him, and that would be his way out. and that they could kind of help set up that situation. However, his plan has been foiled by one Ahsoka.
I think
Because when he was like, I need to learn all about Ahsoka. And when he found out who Ahsoka's master
he was mad.
the look on his face was like literally Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. So again, I'm hedging here. It could very well be Ezra, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that's how it's going to go. Or that Ezra is one of those smoke monsters that the...
If Ezra ends up being one of those wet farts that the witch ladies
Well,
made,
no, the
I'm
real
gonna be
Ezra will
upset.
still be there, but we won't see him till the very end.
I mean, I guess you can take
When
on their manner.
When Balin finds whatever he's going to look for.
I guess you can take on like the mannerisms and stuff and characterization. But I thought that conversation with Sabine felt very Ezra.
It did, yes.
That
it
would
did.
upset me.
I don't think they're going to go that way, but I'm a little. I guess I'm confused again, like you
There's
said.
a lot to wrap up in this last
There's
episode.
a lot to wrap up, and there's some confusion for me around why is Ezra just out there running around and they couldn't find him,
and
he's
we have
just
to
with these
figure out
turtle
what
guys?
Balin's wanting to do. And then, unfortunately, because the actor that played Balin is no longer with us, which that's such a loss because that great character. I don't know anything about the man as how he was as a person, but he's really put his all into that character. So that's a loss. Like, so is Balin if they plan to have a season 2? Is Balin going to be killed off? Like, what do you think they're going to do?
I mean,
or
I'll
just
be honest with you.
disappear?
I'm not entirely convinced whatever he's looking for, he's going to survive that.
And he almost seems to know it, too.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting vibes like he's
They
very...
have a lot to explain in this last episode, and we didn't really see Hera very much. I want all the Rebels people reunited, and I'm not even that invested in the show, and I'm not sure y'all are going to get it either.
No. That's what I'm saying. Are we going to get Empired here?
So is it going to be the season 2, or you said they are planning a movie?
We don't know. There's no season 2 confirmed. We know that they're doing a movie, then Thrawn's going to be in the movie.
Thrawn is a great villain. I need more
absolutely.
of Thrawn.
Yes. Thrawn's awesome.
So much better than Snoke, who we always know now was like a smoke screen. But...
Yeah. Thrawn's
you know
great.
what? The sequels, everybody, I feel like I'm drinking a cup that literally has Rey on it and BB-8 on it right now. So I do like the sequels, but I like the idea of it. What does he say?
Not the truth.
Not the weakness.
Not the truth. The weakness.
And I just want to clarify that. But literally, Ahsoka, my favorite Star Wars. I think we've said it like 50 times. This is my favorite live action Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith. 100%.
I agree.
It's better than even the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian that I felt knocked it out of the park. I'm loving it. I'm very sad for it to end, but I think we will. I kind of tend to agree with you. I think we're going to get Empired a little bit.
And for anybody not understanding the reference, that means that the bad guys are going to win and we're not really
Yeah.
going to get an ending. It's going to be like, a lot of stuff is going to be left open to whatever they do next.
But I'm looking forward to. Do you think we see Anakin again?
I'd be surprised.
I mean, I was shocked we saw my face.
Now,
Like, that
if
we
they
saw
get a
him last
season
time.
2, if they get a season 2, I could see more popping up. But
Alright.
you got it. She said that she had 20 recordings like that one that we were seeing this episode. You got to wonder if Dave ended up just recording a few more just to have them in his pocket in case he needed them.
Again, give him Star Wars. Let him do everything because he is delivering.
And we wrapped up our conversation on Ahsoka with episode 38. We got Empired.
So let's kick things off with Ahsoka.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
You want me to go first? You sure about that?
Yes.
All right.
I am.
I'm going to start with my comments about Ahsoka series as a whole. I thought it was
And then I will refute you.
excellent.
No, I agree with that.
It is the best thing they've done live action Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith.
Agreed.
The finale left me wanting more.
It literally did what you predicted it was going to do.
But
You said we were going to get Empired. What happens?
yeah, but see the thing is, okay.
You didn't get Empired the way you wanted to.
Yes, exactly. I did not get Empire the way I wanted to. I thought that so I have 2 major problems. I
Okay.
thought they should have given us something more with what Balin was up to.
They didn't have time.
Other than him just looking out. Time? What is time? It's a streaming show. If they wanted to make the episode an hour long, they could have made the episode an hour long.
How
If they
long
wanted
was
to make
it?
the episode 2 hours long, they could have made the episode 2 hour long. They could have taken as much time as they wanted.
What was the runtime? Do you remember?
It was like 43 minutes. And that's with the credits at the end.
See, I think they could have. The only weak episode I felt like was that was it the second?
third
it was the third
episode.
episode where they did a whole lot of nothing.
They could have combined that with another
Yes.
episode.
Or just given us more content.
Yeah. So again, I really enjoyed the show. It's great, but
You didn't get what you wanted.
well, I want to know what Balin's up to.
Yes.
I think part of it, I am disappointed that actor passed away, and we're not going to get
Which
to see
we don't-
him.
We can't help that.
I know we can't help that, but we got nothing. Like that
I
last
think they're
episode,
going to have to recast.
and that last episode, him and Shin were like on screen for a total of 30 seconds.
Yes. The show, I will remind you, is called Ahsoka.
They were major
Yes.
antagonists throughout the entire course of the series. Two,
I think
I
they
have
set
2
it up
points.
to have want you wanting more for these reasons.
I
But
have
go
2
on.
points. My second is
I'm going to defend Dave.
the protagonists of the show just flip places.
What do you mean just flip places?
Ahsoka and Sabine are now in the planet, on the Lost Planet, now in the outer galaxy, and Ezra is in the regular Star Wars galaxy. What did they accomplish other than losing to Thrawn?
They got Ezra out of there.
But they got Ezra out of there by sacrificing themselves being stuck there.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be stuck there for very long.
I know they
think
won't,
they'll
which is
find a
what.
mess
Okay,
around.
then what's the point of them being stuck there at all?
Well, I think Sabine made the active choice to stay with Ahsoka.
Yeah, but see, that's the
Which was
thing.
character growth
it
for
was
her.
plot
It
points
was
for
a
character growth.
full circle moment. Yeah, and what do I like best? Why do I personally watch Star Wars? Character growth.
I understand
Listen, Dave Filoni is a genius. I just give the man Star Wars. I understand some of your complaints, but at the same time, you literally predicted what was going to
Okay.
happen.
Actually, let me tell you the real.
literally said we were going to get Empire.
But
You
let me
just
tell
are
you the real reason.
unsatisfied
Let me
that
tell you the
didn't
real
get
reason.
it.
Let me tell you the real reason.
And now he's
Because
pointing at
they
me,
left
guys.
it
I'm getting
just
pointed at.
they left it just open-ended enough with Balin's storyline that now, for however long it takes us to get this show back, I'm going to have to stare at Reddit and YouTube and all these other places where these Star Wars nerds hang out and listen to them go ad
You don't have to do
nauseum
that.
on about the EU and what part of the EU they think is going to get brought in next. And I don't care. I just wanted to
Why
know.
don't you just go watch some Star Treks while you wait?
Well, I'm going to do that. Yes, of course I'm going to do that. But I still check in with my Star Wars from time
What
to
did I
time.
see? I saw Troy. Okay, so for some reason, TikTok, random break, has been sending me Make It or Break It clips in my For You page. I used to love Make It or Break It. It was a show on Freeform. And Counselor Troy from Star Trek was in one of the clips. And so I sent it to Daniel. I said, is this the woman from Star Trek? And you're like, I don't know. I'm like, it has to. Who has a soothing voice? I want her to like read to me at bedtime. Like that sounds creepy, but it's not supposed to be creepy. Don't you think she has a very soothing voice?
She does.
Counselor
One suited
Troy-
for a counselor.
Could have helped our Star Wars pals in this show.
Just want to point out before we go forward that
That
for the
I'm the
last
one that
couple
did it.
episodes, you've been the one
It's my
making the
new
Star Trek
thing.
reference.
I'm gonna keep doing it.
You're stealing my thunder.
I guess. Are you gonna start making Mean Girls references?
No.
Our last podcast aired on October 3rd. That was Mean Girls Day. Speaking of Mean Girls, those witches creep me out. I'm gonna tell my kids those are the Sanderson sisters, but creepy. I feel like I've got to see. I better see some Halloween costumes of those 3 witches this year.
Oh, you for sure will.
So creepy. I thought it was a good finale. I feel very well fed as an Anakin fan, but then I think about how I might not ever see Anakin again, and then I get really emotional. But we could still see him again. I feel like for me, Obi-Wan gave me a little bit of Anakin, but I mostly got Vader. And as a huge Anakin fan, I feel like I almost have some more closure that he's up there. He's watching. Yes, he's still watching over Luke, people, but those memes are funny. He knew Ahsoka more than he knew Luke anyway, but whatever. I feel like we just know he's out there. He's watching Ahsoka do well, and I really liked. See, I got Anakin in the Clone Wars outfit. What I really wanted. That's what I wanted from Obi-Wan, and we did not get that. I got to see him in the Revenge of Sith outfit. This transition scenes, that episode, which featured him heavily. So as an Anakin fan, I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting the episode before the finale for me to see him again. And there he was again in his Clone Wars armor in a recording. And I really feel like I felt Matt Lanter, who voices Anakin in the Clone Wars, in that scene. And it just, I feel like Hayden really did a great job. I know I've said this, so I'm going to say it again. Respecting the work that came, he did the work first. There was the work after him, and it could have been so easy for an arrogant actor to be like, well, I'm not going to watch that. I am Anakin Skywalker. I can tell he watched the mannerisms of the Clone Wars. I can tell didn't it feel like to you like you heard Matt Lanter a little bit too?
Yeah,
It
sure.
felt very
Now,
akin to
what
that.
about the finale that we're talking about, where Anakin did not appear?
Anakin was in the finale.
No, he wasn't. He was in the second to last episode.
No, he was in the finale. Have you lost your mind? Were you that raged out? One of the final scenes of the finale, you dummy.
Oh, at the very end. Yeah,
Look
I'd
at
already
this.
checked out at that point.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
Because I'm a Star Wars fan that's looking towards the future.
And
I'm
I'm
not
a Star
stuck
Wars
in the
fan.
past.
Excuse me, that is
I want
the
to know
future
what goes.
that's showing that
I
Anakin
want
is
to know
hanging
what's
out.
happening going forward.
Do I have the floor now?
Do we need to get like a thing that we hold when we
I
have
guess.
the floor?
And I'm sitting there like, what's this guy talking about? I'm getting to my point, and that he's like taking my thunder away here, where I'm building up to the final scene, and I thought, well, we've got a lot going on in this finale. Maybe I'm not going to see Anakin again, and then Sabine feels this like presence, and I'm like, oh, am I going to get to see Anakin again? And then it's just. And they've mirrored it with that scene from the Clone Wars of him and Ahsoka watching each other from afar. And there's Anakin, a little smile in the classic Anakin outfit, the way it should be, smiling, looking at his Padawan, who's, had her character growth really come around. She's accepted things from her past. She can move forward. She is teaching Sabine. She has a new outlook. She's realized, Anakin, he did some bad things, but he also did a lot of good.
Just
a few.
Just
What
one
murder?
or two.
What murder? But the lessons that he taught her are very important, and she is going to use, because the way they even ended up at the planet to find Ezra to begin with, she kind of was like, what would Anakin do in this situation? I cannot believe you forgot that. I might not be like going on and on and on and on and on about how much I like the finale if I hadn't had that beautiful scene, which I'm going to pull up on my phone right now and show you. We're sitting across from each other. Is my last photo saved in my phone of Anakin smiling on Ahsoka. I might make it my new background. You never know.
So what you're saying is the only reason that the finale was great was because of fan service.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not going to grant you the rank of master. You're getting on my nerves. I thought it was good. I thought exactly, I agreed with you that we were going to get empired, and that's exactly what happened. You just didn't get empired in the way you thought we were going to get empired. I knew 10 minutes in, when I hadn't seen Balin or Shen, I'm like, oh, they're going to set those up at the end and give us a sprinkling, because that's going to set up a likely season 2.
Sure.
I don't see us not getting a season 2 or a movie continuation with the way they left things up in the air and how well the show has done. At one point, I think I saw a statistic that Ahsoka was like the top streaming show or something for that week. I know it's done very well. I would have liked to have learned a little bit more about what was going on with Balin, but I think the whole like mythical thing with him standing on the father, go watch that Clone Wars episode. It apparently has a lot of details.
You go watch that Clone Wars episode.
I have seen parts of it on YouTube. You're being this guy, you guys. Because he didn't get his favorite character the whole time. He's a turd.
What are you talking about?
You wanted the whole episode to be about Balin. You didn't get your closure for Balin.
No, I didn't want the whole episode to be about Balin.
The only part you wanted to be empired was Thrawn winning and getting out of there.
More than just 10 seconds of him standing on a rock looking out into the distance.
And it's very unfortunate that Ray Stevenson passed away because, one, he's done such a great job. I would love to see him feel the fan response, because I feel like everybody knows he's done a good job. And, all the memes... I like the idea of it, not the truth, not the weakness. That's been a perfect TikTok usage, but you can tell they set that up, those two, and Shen's kind of a lone wolf right now.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that she would come with Ahsoka, but that wasn't the point of it. Like, too much to cram in that time space. I agree with you. I would have sat down and watched 3 hours of this finale, and they could have wrapped it up in one big movie, but, we're not the studio execs. We're not the ones that are doing that. So I did think it was a little silly that basically Ezra did swap places with Sabine, but I was very glad, because at first I'm like, well, this is crap. Ahsoka's just going to be stuck here. I was like, maybe she'll take Shin on as her new Padawan, but then kind of the whole point we started the show about the relationship with her and Sabine and her trying to, train her Padawan, so that would have seemed kind of pointless, and I feel like Sabine choosing her and they're in a better place to move forward. I thought that worked out well, and then I was very glad that we got to see Ezra reunite with Hera. Like, I even started to tear up there. Like, I was already crying before Anakin showed on screen, because I thought that was cute. I liked how Ezra got the stormtrooper.
Classic
things.
Ezra.
Apparently, that's like his little thing. I think that Rebels fans will have to wait for their reunion of the whole group together. I'm a little surprised they didn't bring Zeb in,
Considering
he
brought him in
randomly showed up in
Mando,
Mandalorian. So I think that is something that, again, they're spreading those seeds out. I think for me as the Anakin girly, I'm not sure we're going to see Anakin again in the next season. Possibly we could always have Ahsoka listening to more recordings, but I do think I can rest my head at night knowing that they did Anakin justice at last, and we got well fed. Dave Filoni, thank you so much for doing this. I feel like when Disney took over, they really wanted, they didn't care about mentioning Vader, but it's almost like they really wanted to separate themselves so far from the prequels. We barely got recognition of Anakin as a character, and I think he is the best character from Star Wars. Literally, and I will say that forever. Anakin, number one. Most complex storyline. Just, he is Star Wars. And Hayden Christensen got that opportunity to come back and play this character twice in 2 shows now. But I think that arc is likely done. I don't think it's good. Like, he and Ahsoka have peace. He's watching over her. We don't really need, as much as I want it, we don't really need to see Anakin show up a lot. Now we can focus on the other things. Just the unfortunate part is that character of Balin, I can tell they had more plans for him.
Yeah.
So are we going to recast? I think at this point you have to recast.
It really would be difficult, I think, at this point, not to recast that character.
And I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Rest in peace, Michael Gambon. Is that his name? I just call him Dumbledore number 2.
Oh, yeah.
He passed away. Like, I thought about, I remember this. Like, and I know we're millennials talking about Harry Potter, whatever. I remember being upset about that. I was like, they're going to have another Dumbledore for the 3rd movie? Because I read the books, and then we saw the first 2 movies, but then the 3rd movie was the first one I saw in theaters.
Whoever steps in to play Balin, those are big shoes to fill now, because he was not on screen a ton,
but he left a mark.
He left a real mark, and like it is
much unanswered about Shen's character too.
Yeah, it is saying a lot when you've got an 8-episode television show where Anakin Skywalker shows up, and just as many people are talking about Balin as are talking about Anakin.
And I think that scene with him at the end was really kind of set up what's to come if we do, because I do think we'll probably get a season 2. We have to. Yeah,
I don't know how they could go into a movie with what they've left right now.
Yes.
I think some more development in a season 2 needs to happen. I do think a Skywalker will show up in season 2. It's just not going to be Anakin. I have trouble believing they can stay away from Luke too much longer, particularly with Ezra now actually being a Jedi and actually being in the Star Wars galaxy again. Like, they're going to have to get together. And if they don't, they're going to have to explain to us why.
I agree. But I liked the finale. I get why you still liked the finale. You were just annoyed.
Yes, it was not my favorite episode of the season by far.
You were annoyed because some of the parts of the show that you were interested in were not center stage.
Correct.
But I believe that, again, unfortunate that the actor's gone, but I think that they are setting those storylines to be more of a center stage, and then Ahsoka and Sabine are going to have to figure out how to get the heck out of there. And I think Rebels fans will be even more well-fed in the next installment. And then obviously Thrawn's out. The witch lady, she was used, so she's dead, Morgan. Mm-hmm. And, yeah.
We don't know what they were loading onto his Star Destroyer.
Oh, yeah.
And there was some other stuff, too, like...
Just wait till he finds out that Anakin had a kid.
Right. The meme online was like, he just got done getting rid of Anakin's Padawan, and he gets back to the regular galaxy, and he's like, okay, so can somebody actually fill me in on what happened? And they were like, well, this Luke Skywalker guy, and it's like, Luke who?
And I'm glad that they didn't wrap it all up with a rosy, tidy bow, because I do want more, and I think there's a lot more stories to tell, and I think Dave is doing a good job. And again, like I said, that scene with Anakin at the end smiling, people, it's on my phone. So I really liked it. I agree with you. And I think we've already said this several times. Best Star Wars that I have seen since Revenge of the Sith. It's hard for me to take a step back because I did like the first season of Loki so much. I don't know if I'm going to say it's my favorite show on Disney Plus yet, but it's definitely up there of the Disney Plus original shows.
I agree. I do wish they would just come out and tell us if there's a season 2 or not. Like, that would make me feel a lot better knowing that, because I think there's a lot of really unknown about where we're going next.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.